Welcome into Steelers Talk. I'm your host, Jack Sperry, and today I'm going to be revealing my first 7-round Steelers mock draft of the 2026 NFL offseason. I feel like now is the right time to do this because now we know who our head coach is, Mike McCarthy. We know what the offensive scheme plan is going to be here. We know what the defensive scheme plan is going to be because we know that Patrick Graham will be the defensive coordinator here in Pittsburgh. So I feel like I have a good idea of what kind of players the Steelers will be targeting at certain positions. And I can't wait to share my first mock with you guys. And, of course, this year it's going to be pretty exciting to do these mock drafts every single week because the Steelers have a whopping 12 draft picks, which obviously gives this team a ton of really fun and interesting possibilities throughout draft season this year. So right now, we're going to be releasing this on the last day of the month, guys. And right now, as I stand here today, we are just 3 new subscribers behind the Browns report in our January sub-battle here in the AFC North. Also, the Baltimore Ravens rundown channel here, helmed by Trader Joey, is going pretty strong right now as well. And I guarantee you those other hosts are trying to pass us here right before the end of the month. So new viewers, I am counting on you guys to click that subscribe button, help us out, help us win the AFC North here in the month of January. We provide you guys a daily and free and extensive Steelers coverage here on YouTube. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button to help us beat the Browns, Bengals, and Ravens here for the month of January. So first, let's take a look here at Pittsburgh's 2026 draft picks, and the Steelers have quite a few heading into the spring here, and that certainly provides a lot of fun opportunities for the black and gold in terms of trading up, in terms of just taking a bunch of players and injecting this roster with a lot of young talent. You've got 5 picks in the top 100, a pick in round 1, obviously, and round 2, and then you got 3 third-round picks this year, one of those being a comp pick, one of those being the Dallas Cowboys pick in the George Pickens trade, and then one of those being your own. And then you also have quite a few picks on day 3 as well. You've got 7 picks in round 3 to finish up the 2026 NFL draft, culminating in 12 picks total heading into the spring. So, 2 fourths, you got 1 5, 2 6, and 2 7s. Now we can take a look at some of our projected needs here for the black and gold this year. And, honestly, I don't think that there's anything that's super duper pressing for the Pittsburgh Steelers, maybe outside of wide receiver, but I think they could use another nose tackle with Patrick Queen potentially getting cut. You could use some off-ball linebacker. Safety, I think, will be a position of need for sure. Left guard with Isaac Seumalo slated to go into free agency this year. And then, of course, quarterback, especially if Aaron Rodgers does not return for the 2026 campaign. And coming up next year, it's time to get the party started. All 12 of my picks for my first mock draft here on Steelers Talk here in 2026. But before we get into all the action here and I reveal who I have the Steelers taking for all 12 picks and all 7 rounds of this mock draft, go ahead and let me know down there in the comment section. What position should Pittsburgh prioritize targeting in round 1 of the draft this year? This will be the pinned comment on today's show. So in just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor. And while I'll let you know about our sponsor today, let me know which position should be the top priority for the Pittsburgh Steelers to target in round 1. And now today is actually the final day where you guys can take advantage of our special deal as we have new merch that has dropped here on Steelers Talk just before Valentine's Day. You guys can use code VDAY5 to get $5 off any of our Married Into This collection that we have designed specifically for Valentine's Day and all of your special lovelies out there in Steelers Nation. And of course, it ends on February 1st. So we're going to be putting this out probably on the last day of January 31st. So time is running out to get that $5 off. And whether you like black, whether you like white, you guys, we have 2 colorways for you guys to choose from. And, I really like, the design of this. I helped our design team here at Chat Sports come up with this. And I think it's a really cool idea, especially with Valentine's Day coming up. We also have ladies t-shirts that are available. And, the reason why it's taken us a little while here to get into the merch game is because we tried to really take our time and do our research and find find the right materials and find the right company to partner with to make our stuff. And I think we found, a really good partner in terms of, finding, stuff that's really good, affordable for you guys, but also super comfortable. If you want to see what it looks like, that's what it looks like. And, it's super comfortable. It helps out the show if you make a purchase. And if this stuff does well and you guys, make a lot of purchases here into our Married Into This collection, we can do more merch and we can do more stuff as the NFL draft gets closer and the closer we get to the 2026 NFL season. So again, guys, use code VDAY5 to get $5 off anything in our Married Into This collection here on Steelers Talk. Again, time is running out. This deal ends on February 1st. So get on it right now. The link is down there in the comments and description. So make sure you guys check it out if you want one of these pieces. So this week, I'm not going to be doing any trades on the mock, okay? Once we get later into the offseason, I'll probably get creative with some, interesting trade up and trade down scenarios that the Steelers can consider. But today, we're just going to go straight, all 12 picks. We're not going to do any trading. And with the first pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year at number 21 overall, I'm going to take Ohio State defensive tackle Kayden McDonald, who's an absolute beast at nose tackle, man. Plays with great pad level, really great athleticism, can get after the quarterback as well. And he's got a skill set as a true, 330-plus pound nose tackle that can not only take on those double teams, anchor against those double teams, and hold the line of scrimmage, something that Keanu Benton, frankly, has really struggled to do in recent seasons, but he can also get after the quarterback. So, if he's out there, you're not sacrificing, interior disruption. I think that, that makes McDonald a particularly, valuable asset in this year's draft class. And, I know for a fact Omar Khan, Andy Weidel in this front office loves drafting trenches early. We've seen that in the first 3 years of the Omar Khan regime when it comes to the NFL draft. They've taken 2 offensive tackles and a defensive tackle last year. And, of course, we know Derek Harmon is going to be, a stud here in Pittsburgh for many years. And, I want to get him a running mate for the long-term future here in Kayden McDonald. I think Pittsburgh needs a legitimate nose tackle for the future. I mean, I look at, the current configuration of the defensive line here in Pittsburgh. And, Derek Harmon is awesome where he plays at defensive end in the 3-4. And then, if Cam Hayward comes back, obviously he's really good, at that 3-4 defensive end spot as well. But, Keanu Benton, who's been playing nose tackle, for the last several years in the Mike Tomlin, Terrell Austin regime, he just hasn't been good enough, man. And, he hasn't been able to anchor. He's been blown off the spot way too frequently. And he's a big reason, in my opinion, why the Steelers' run defense has really been porous and not as good or consistent as it should be over the last several seasons. And I think McDonald's presence in there as somebody that can just, hold his own in the middle of the defense and be, a space eater and not, hold his position on the defensive line and at the line of scrimmage. I think that's something that this Steelers defense desperately needs. And then, as a result, Benton should be moved to 3-4 defensive end, whether that's, Cam Hayward comes back for another season and Benton is more of a rotational piece, or whether that's, Cam retires and Benton is a full-time starter, replacing Cam Hayward at that other 3-4 defensive end spot. I think Benton is much better as a penetrator and as a disruptor. He's got really violent and quick hands, and he can get into the backfield. But in terms of taking on double teams, anchoring, and holding the line of scrimmage, that's just not what he does. And with Patrick Graham coming in here, I think that this is an opportunity to fix a mistake from the Tomlin regime that greatly needs fixing. Then in round 2, I'm going to get my wide receiver here in the early rounds, Chris Brazzell, the second out of Tennessee, and I have become enamored with this young man's skill set, man. He's big, he's fast, he's shifty as a route runner, he's good after the catch, he's competitive as all hell, and I just love his complete skill set. And honestly, Brazzell might be somebody that sneaks into the round 1 conversation by the end of the draft process. I just feel like when people see the same film that I've seen on him, they're going to want, this guy on their football team. But right now, the consensus big board, would allow me to take Brazzell where I'm taking him here in round 2. So I'm going to take advantage of that, man. I think he can start day 1 for the Pittsburgh Steelers next year. Now, maybe, he'll have to earn his spot on the depth chart over like a Roman Wilson or, maybe somebody else they bring in free agency. But I think the Steelers' plan is they're going to bring in a pretty decent veteran to be, the day 1 wide receiver 2 in free agency to pair with DK Metcalf. And then they're going to draft a rookie early to hopefully overtake that veteran as the wide receiver 2 of the future alongside DK Metcalf. And I think Brazzell, with his complete complete skill set, I think would be a great fit for this team long term, and I would love for him to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. Then in round 3, I'm going to go with quarterback out of LSU, Garrett Nussmeier. Now, Nuss is somebody that dealt with a oblique issue this year at LSU, and at least he blames that on some of the lack of production that he had this year for the Tigers. But he's somebody that had a terrific 2024 season. He uses the Cognalize VR technology that they used with Jaden Daniels there at LSU, and because of that, Nussmeier has been one of the more anticipatory throwers in college football over the last 2 years. He throws over the middle of the field. He's got kind of that quote-unquote gunslinger mentality that Mike McCarthy tends to like. He's got a quick release. He's a good fit for a Mike McCarthy style offense, and the fact that McCarthy has a relationship with Garrett's dad, Doug, the OC of the New Orleans Saints, former quarterbacks coach under Mike McCarthy, that just makes this connection even more. Also, Scott Tolzien, the likely offensive coordinator pick for Mike McCarthy here in Pittsburgh, is coaching Nussmeier at the Senior Bowl this week as one of his coaches. So I'm sure that they're getting to know each other a little bit here, and it would not shock me at all if the Steelers feel like Nussmeier, who is projected to be a first-round pick this year, if they can steal him this year in the 3rd round, because last year the oblique injury certainly tarnished his draft prospects heading into this year's draft. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comment section. Should Pittsburgh draft a quarterback this year, and if so, in what round? Do you think they should take Ty Simpson in round 1? Do you think they should go Garrett Nussmeier in round 3? Do you think they should go Drew Aller in round 4? Like, what do you guys think? Let me know down there in the comment section. Should they not draft anybody and have Will Howard be the future? Let me know what your guys' thoughts are down there in the comment section, and we'll continue on here with our mock draft here in round 3, pick number 85, and I'm going to take inside linebacker out of Texas Tech, Jacob Rodriguez, who is an absolute stud for the Red Raiders this year. And, it certainly sounds like the Steelers are at least heavily thinking about releasing Patrick Queen. And if Queenie ends up, hitting the road, you probably need to bring in somebody. I know you got Peyton Wilson and Malik Harrison, and you got Carson Bruner, but you're going to have to add another body to this group. And even though it's a decent free agency class at linebacker as well, Rodriguez is somebody that I think can step in and potentially be an every down starter on day 1. His instincts are off the charts. He's so good in pass coverage. He is dominating the Senior Bowl this week with his ability to cover out in space, and he's got great instincts to attack downhill as well. I just really like this young man from the Red Raiders, and there's a reason why guys like Patrick Mahomes were advocating for him to win the Heisman Trophy this year. He was that impactful for the Red Raiders, so I would love for him to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. Then with my final 3rd round selection here, I'm going to take an interior offensive lineman out of Alabama, Parker Brailsford. And the reason why I'm bringing him in is I just don't know what the situation is going to look like along the interior of the offensive line, specifically at left guard. They might put Broderick Jones there. They might, bring back Isaac Seumalo. They might try and make Brailsford a day 1 starter. But, no matter, what they do at this position, I think Brailsford, brings very valuable depth at that position. As Mike McCarthy said this week in his interview with the team, you can never have too many bodies up front. And I think Brailsford coming from Alabama, with that pedigree, I think that he would be a good fit here with the Pittsburgh Steelers and a potential starter for this team down the road. Then we get to round 4, and I'm going to take Pitt Panther here, Kyle Lewis, another star of the Senior Bowl this week. And, it's kind of him and Rodriguez that are just dominating there at the Senior Bowl. And Lewis is really the guy that's going to be the fast riser. I mean, I'm taking him here in round 4 based on where he projects on the consensus big board. I think as it is right now, he's 123. So this is about, the range where the consensus big board is expecting him to go. But with his week at the Senior Bowl this week, guys, I would not be surprised if he goes on day 2. Like, he is really a special player. I think that if you watch Pitt Panther football over the last couple of years, you understand that. And now the media and the public at large, saw what he did at the Senior Bowl this week, and everyone's starting to come around. So I would love to pair him with Jacob Rodriguez for the future, along with Peyton Wilson, and that's your trio at off-ball linebacker. You get a good rotation of those 3 guys going. I think you're going to be in a good spot at that position moving forward. Then I'm going to take Bishop Fitzgerald, a safety out of USC, at pick number 135, and I'm a big fan of Fitzgerald's game. Really highly graded player. He's got some good size. And, with Patrick Graham coming in, he's a guy that likes to use multiple safeties. And Jalen Ramsey's not going to be around forever. So I think Bishop Fitzgerald as a 4th-round pick is a good guy that can sit and learn behind guys like Ramsey and Deshaun Elliott for a little bit. And if he impresses enough in camp, maybe he could even be the starter. But something tells me they're going to go out and get a safety in free agency. And if that happens, Fitzgerald would probably not have much of a chance to start right away. But I do like his skill set. And why not? I'm going to take another safety here, and Bud Clark, another guy that's been awesome at the Senior Bowl this week in coverage. He's somebody that I think, would certainly provide some competition for Fitzgerald at this spot for the future. And, as Deshaun Elliott and Jalen Ramsey get older, I think that these are two guys that can, grow together, like the two rookie safeties that are there in New England, where, those guys took over very, very quickly, and eventually Jabril Peppers and Kyle Duggar ended up here in Pittsburgh because those guys played so well. So I'm not saying Bud Clark and Bishop Fitzgerald as 2 day 3 picks are going to do what those two safeties in New England did this year, but I like Bud Clark and I like Bishop Fitzgerald. Right now the consensus big board puts them at around an early day 3 value. Then in round 6, we get a little bit of a break here, but now we kick off our round 6 picks here with Wesley Williams, an edge rusher out of Duke. I was in attendance for Shrine Bowl practices this week in Frisco, Texas, guys, and Wesley Williams was one of the guys that stood out to me, okay? Like, he's got pretty long arms, and, I kind of akin him to somebody like Jack Sawyer, where he's not going to be like a star-level player, but he can hold up, and he can hold his ground and set an edge against the run, but he can also get after the quarterback a little bit. And he was very impressive in individual one-on-one drills. And I think that, with a 6th-round pick, getting a guy that can be that 4th rotational piece, if somebody gets injured, he can play on early downs or later downs, depending on what role you need him to play. I think having a 4th edge rusher like that is really valuable and is more than worth this 6th-round selection. Then I'm going to take a developmental corner here at 214, Devon Marshall out of NC State, another Shrine Bowl guy, and somebody that has incredible recovery speed, okay? He needs a little bit of refinement in his mirroring technique. He's not, there's a reason why he's not going in round 1, for example, but, I think he did a really good job, even when he was getting beat in the one-on-ones initially at Shrine. He was able to close in and make a play on the football. He's an instinctual player, and, I think that with the 6th-round pick, with a guy that caliber of speed and acceleration and that kind of recovery speed, I think it's worth a flyer in round 6. Then we get to round 7. I'll add actually a couple of offensive playmakers here to the Steelers' offense here to finish up. I will go with Eli Heidenreich, the wide receiver running back hybrid out of Navy. He played wide receiver at Navy as an undersized guy. He's coming out as a running back, and this was another guy that was at Trine this week who's just cooking linebackers in one-on-one. Like this guy's route running is pristine. He's got good hands. He's good after the catch. He's got some juice to him. And, I look at a guy like this, and I'm not saying he'd be Julian Edelman, but he'd be like a Julian Edelman type of, he's a football player, whether we put him on special teams or whether we use him in the backfield or we put him in the slot. This is somebody that can compete for a 53-man roster spot and somebody that was a big-time player. And obviously he's got great character coming from the military. And then around 7, once again, I'm going to go with another guy that, is kind of a dynamic type of a skill set here in Kaden Wetjen, the wide receiver out of Iowa. And this guy was just cooking people in the one-on-ones at Shrine Bowl practices. And this is somebody that didn't really get a lot of production at Iowa because they didn't throw the football a lot there at Iowa. They ran the ball a lot. And Wetjen is somebody that is dynamic with the ball in his hands, and he's a little bit smaller. He's going to be more of a slot guy, but man, he can run routes. He separates. That's something that the Steelers desperately need, especially with a guy like Aaron Rodgers at quarterback if he returns this year. And he can also provide value on special teams. So, get a couple of, day 3 dart throws in round 7 on the offensive side of the ball. Hopefully at least one of those guys can become a little bit of a piece for the Steelers down the stretch. So let's break down my mock draft here, my first one of the spring. The top 100 picks for the Steelers, I took Kayden McDonald to be the new nose tackle for the Steelers, then Chris Brazzell, a receiver I really like out of Tennessee in round 2, Garrett Nussmeier to compete with Will Howard as the future of the quarterback position here in Pittsburgh, behind Aaron Rodgers most likely. Jacob Rodriguez is a potential day 1 starter at linebacker, Parker Brailsford as some more depth and competition along the interior of the offensive line, Kyle Lewis to pair with Rodriguez at the off-ball linebacker position to kind of fortify that position for years to come. Bishop, Fitzgerald, and Bud Clark, two guys that I'm really high on at the safety position this year. Wesley Williams to be your fourth edge rusher heading into the year. Devon Marshall as a developmental corner, and then two kind of dart throws on offense, and Eli Heidenreich and Kaden Wetjen to round out the mock draft here. So grade my mock down there in the comment section. Give me an A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. I want to get your feedback down there in the comments, and I want to thank you guys for making it to the end of today's show. We're going to be doing these mock drafts every single week during the weekends for you guys to enjoy, and I'm going to try and mix it up as much as I can in terms of the players that I'm selecting week in and week out. With 12 picks every single week and a number of weeks to the draft, it's probably going to be hard to mix it up every single week at all 12 picks, but I'm going to do my best for you guys here so you guys can get exposed to as many high-end prospects that the Steelers could be targeting all throughout the draft season this year. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Till next time, guys, here we go, Steelers.